You're looking at the Underground Railroad. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings be upon you. We come at the Underground Railroad. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30, but we come on YouTube 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And you can see these wonderful people, my guests, on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe and share and comment. Okay, and we're going to be talking about global issues. And you know what? I'm going to have my guests introduce themselves, because this is a new segment. And you can tell us what NCOBRA is.
My name is Shirley McLaurin. I am a member of NCOBRA Chicago, National Coalitions for Reparations for Blacks in America. We, at this point, have about 25 states where our chapters are, our national chapters in Washington, D.C. And NCOBRA is a organization of like-minded men, women, even children, teenagers, college age, because we want to leave a legacy. We want our children to be more prepared than what we were as we were coming along to find out about our equity in human rights here in the United States.
And Johnny, he has his own YouTube show platform. Yeah. So, cool, introduce yourself.
Right, so I am presently creating segments or, how can I say it, production for my YouTube show. But I do have a meetup group called Holiness in the Metaverse. So that's the platform I'm presently working on. You can presently find me on. Other than that, I am an EMT by trade, and I am by education, international and economics student.
And I got David Kaas, my partner in crime. I do a podcast with him, the Underground Railroad TV show in Chicago. But he has his own show, and I'm gonna have he's out of California. Introduce yourself, brother.
Thank you, Clifton. My name is David Kaas. I'm originally from Iowa, but living in Venice, California. And I just ran for the presidency in 2020 on the open ticket, nationofchange.org. Thank you, Clifton.
What's your YouTube platform, brother?
Well, I'm on the YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on MeWe, and I'm on Gab. But my platform is to abolish all pagan holidays and reinstate the seven Mosaic feast days from the Old Testament of the Bible. Okay. That's what I'm all about.
I got you, brother. Now we gonna get on down to work, and you know what, man? It's all in the news. Roe versus Wade. Now there's some people on this side, and some people on this side. Some people are for abortion. Some people are against abortion. Some people believe that it's murder. But I want to ask my guests, what do you think of, Shirley, what do you think about the Supreme Court judges, the highest court in the land, making a reversal on Roe versus Wade, giving a woman the right to choose whether she wants to carry that baby or not?
Well, remember that they didn't actually destroy it, but what they did was giving the rights back to the states to make that decision.
Yes.
Now that's what they did. They, to me, have not erased Roe versus Wade. My personal opinion about that, I believe women have the right to choose to do whatever they want to do with their bodies, okay? Now, where do we put the men in this mix, right? When and how soon will we put the men into this conversation? But we'll skip over that part.
I got a follow-up. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And go to the fact that if a woman has been raped, incest, I don't mind my taxpaying dollars going towards that.
Yeah.
But I seriously believe that women have a right to choose whatever they want to do with their bodies, however they want to do with their fetus, their human being, what titles they want to give it. But when it comes to the religious aspect, there's another question. Because again, we must understand that laws will only exist if you let them, because they are made to be changed.
Yes.
And thank you.
But you know what? You had made a statement. Since I'm in that minority, I got to pose this question. You said, on men, I would like to say, how can you really say that question? To me, if the man is not raping her or forcing her, wouldn't you say that the woman has the power and the intelligence to say, no, I will not let you use me as a sexual tool?
Well,
do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I'm gonna say I agree and disagree, basically because it depends upon the woman and the relationship. So, you know, I can only, from my point of view, men should bear just as much responsibility as for that fetus, baby, whichever terminology you use, being here or not being here.
So he should have a say.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
That's my belief.
I often hear sisters say that they blame it on the man, but they're the one
parties.
They have the power to say, I will not let you use me as a sexual tool. You are not my husband.
And well,
okay. But
I had my say. We're gonna get into another conversation.
You know, I like to ask you, Johnny. You know what? Did the Supreme Court make the right decision by giving each state the opportunity to determine whether abortion should be legal or illegal, and why?
Yeah, I'm glad she pointed that out, because that's something that's really been missing from the conversation, is that the Supreme Court didn't make
I'm glad you said
abortion illegal in and of itself.
Nope.
They just took themselves out of it so that the states themselves can make individual decisions, which I think was probably wise. I think I could say that was wise, because they're correct, because they never should have gotten involved in that. The whole reasoning behind it is flawed. For you to make it a federal thing. I mean, mind you, the state isn't that big of a different entity than the federal, but for the federal court to get involved in what is essentially politics. See, because the Supreme Court is supposed to be absent of politics.
Yeah.
Supposed to be. So the minute that they voted on the morality of abortion, they became political.
Okay, and David, I would out of California, I would like to ask you the same thing. Did the Supreme Court make the right decision, giving each state the opportunity to make a decision over whether abortion is legal or illegal, and why?
I think they did the right thing by washing their hands of the decisions themselves. They allow the states to decide for themselves. But at the same time, Clifton, I don't think it's up to the states to decide. This is a personal issue. Every single case is different. Every single case has to be weighed out and decided. And every single case only has 9 months before the pregnancy is going to be over. So it's almost the type of thing that has to be decided within every person's own mind. You know, I mean, it's up to them, because there's always outside places to go to get the child aborted. There's always finances to be supplied to pay for it, and it's not so much the right or wrong. It's the individual's choice, and with that choice comes karmic reprisals later on in life. Because you did this to a child that should have been born maybe you got to get whacked for
Right.
it, because you didn't allow it to be born. Or the other way. It could go the other way. If the individuals were minors and their parents took control of the situation and decided to have it aborted or to have it, natural childbirth and then give it up for adoption. Those are all choices, but they're not the individuals because their children are still underage. So there's a lot of different if, ands, or buts,
Now, you know what? I got to ask, each one of you may have a different answer. And I'd like to ask you, Miss Shirley, when there is a baby they go through the stages of the zygote, embryo, and I didn't major in biology, but what I want to ask you is, when you hear a heartbeat and the baby kicking around, and she aborts, do you classify that as murder?
You know what? I'd have to think about that before I answer.
Okay.
And it might take a whole year for me to think about that to answer that question.
I could say it in a
and I'm a parent. I've had 2 children of my own. Okay.
I'm saying if the baby is actually kicking it around and the doctor can hold a stethoscope, I'm not even saying it right.
Don't worry about it.
And hear a heartbeat, would you classify that as... Bob Marley just once made a song, Murder, She Wrote.
Yes, he
Would you classify that as murder?
I would.
Should there not be consequences for that?
I'm sure it should be consequences for it, but depending upon each individual case and rape and incest, you never know.
But okay, and I'd like to ask you the same question, Johnny. If the baby is kicking around in the stomach, out of womb, and the doctor could hear a heartbeat, would you classify that as murder?
Well, I would classify it as murder at the point of zygote. So,
okay.
So at the point of conception.
Told y'all I didn't take biology too well. I wasn't too good at it, but go ahead.
Don't worry about it.
So at the point that the sperm meets the egg, you have a life. So, if you destroy that life, that's murder.
Should there not be consequences? I'm saying we have determined, but I'm going to ask you the same thing, David. If the baby is kicking around, that's a good picture they got of you up there too, okay? And you can hear, the doctor can hear the heartbeat. Is that not murder, in your opinion?
Well, it would depend on the circumstances. Say the baby's kicking around and it's going to be born to a mother in Africa or over in the Ukraine, where the Russians are assaulting and they're blowing the heck out of the buildings.
Is it not murder?
I don't know if it's murder or not.
So you're saying is if the baby is kicking around and it's a heartbeat, you say you do not know if that is life. You do not know. Go ahead, talk to me.
Well, can I ask you a question? Does our military go over and murder people in foreign countries that we don't even know? Do they kill the men, women, and children every day? If you're in the military, you got a gun and you got it loaded and you're out there to do your business.
I just don't want, I just don't want to answer because I'm interviewing and I got to be impartial. Okay. I got to ask you that if the baby is kicking around and I have put the circumstances where you hear a heartbeat, you say that is life, and I'm asking if the abort, is that not murder?
I don't think it's murder.
Wow.
Because murder is something that you anticipate, you plan out, and then you execute.
No, you're talking about you're talking about premeditated murder. Premeditated, right? That is premeditated. You know what? Y'all asked it, and my next question is: since we understand, two people understand. One got a different opinion. If we classify that as murder, should there be consequences?
I'm sure there should be, depending upon what transpired to make this happen.
Okay.
Now, my brother, Mr. Johnny, got something he needs to let this audience know.
Okay.
Okay. So we have So Mr. David was saying that it's not premeditated, but okay, we have what we call Planned Parenthood, right? That sounds like
Bill Gates.
That sounds like premeditation to me.
So is it murder to you?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
It meets the definition.
Okay.
Because once the sperm and the egg meet, it becomes life. If you take a life without justification, that's murder.
Should it be consequences? Are there consequences for murder?
There are consequences.
Okay. Should there be consequences on a lady?
Yeah.
There are consequences.
Okay. And I'd like to ask you, David, when it comes to aborting, do you feel there should be consequences? Because there is a life in the stomach kicking around and it's a heartbeat. Should there be consequences to that woman?
I believe the consequences are karmic. That means that whatever the person does in their lifetime, they're going to receive back in payment in situations and confrontations and even a car accident can kill you or maim you and leave you disabled. That could be karmic reprisals for what you've done, not accepting the responsibility that you took for yourself when you decided to become impregnated.
Okay.
Or for the man to impregnate a woman and then to give her the opportunity to decide for herself, that's a second, karmic thing that could happen. So it's very difficult to say that a situation is either hot or cold or on or off. It's like I say, it depends on the person, the age, the experience, all those situations, all partial to the final decision.
Okay. I want to go to the NRA. People that don't know who the NRA is an organization that says that you have the right to bear arms. So I'd like to ask you, Ms. Shirley, should you have the right to bear arms? And should they make checks before an individual get a gun? And should the individual have a right to own a machine gun, a semi-automatic machine gun?
It should not be even allowed to manufacture. Anytime you're building artillery and guns to kill human beings, it's inhumane, all totalities. But getting back to your question, basically, I believe everybody should have a right to bear arms, okay? Now, not to say that it's right or wrong, but you definitely need rules, regulations, and investigative processes in order to give a person that right, okay?
You, Johnny, I'd like to ask you, do you believe in the right to bear arms, what the NRA's mission statement is, and should they make more background checks, and does a person have a right to own a semi-automatic gun that could shoot out 50 rounds in seconds? I'd like to ask you that.
Well, I don't know. I say it like this: I kind of tend to think that the right to defend oneself should not be infringed. However, we live in a society that has gone mad. So it's become necessary to have some type of restrictions, and one of those restrictions should be these assault rifles. I really feel like if you need an assault rifle to protect yourself, either you stay in the Ukraine or something is wrong.
And you know what, David, I want to pose that question to you. The NRA, they're strong, have a lot of lobbyists, and they give campaign contributions, okay? Huge. And I'd like to ask you, do you believe that we should have the right to bear arms, and should there be more background checks? And do you believe that an individual should have the right to own a semi-automatic gun, something that can fire off 50 rounds in 10 seconds?
I'd say yes to all your questions, Clifton, because I just saw a video this week of a crowd of people standing in front of a place, and a gunman came up to the crowd with a gun in his hand, and a woman pulled out a small pistol out of her purse and shot the gunman twice in the chest and put him on the ground. So, yes, I think all women need a gun nowadays.
Just women? You should say women.
Can you say that again?
They just need to be able to. Yeah,
we can't hardly hear you out here.
I heard them. I just like questioning what
Say
he
that
said.
again.
We need to be able to protect ourselves.
Okay, go ahead.
That's why. We just need to be able to protect ourselves. All women, all men of any age need to be able to protect themselves at night, during the day, wherever they go. And it's not that we need to kill anybody. We just need to protect ourselves. So we have the right to do that.
So you do believe that we should, since believing in the NRA's mission statement, you believe that you should have the right to own a semi-automatic gun, something that can fire off 50 rounds in 10 seconds.
No, I don't go along with that thinking, but I think that every person should be able to defend themselves wherever they're at against another human or an animal. You know, sometimes those animals take a couple slugs in them before they stop advancing on you. You know?
And I think,
if you've ever been in the woods before, you know what I mean.
Like you want to say something?
No, I'm just saying, sometimes people forget about that, because I remember not too many years ago that Chicago had one of the strictest, you could say gun laws, but self-defense laws in the state. I mean, in these states. For example, you couldn't even carry a knife that was over so many inches. And I always had an issue with that, because there's coyotes in Chicago. In case you know, around, you know, there's coyotes out there.
In Terror Town.
Yeah.
Where we live.
Right. There's coyotes.
In Chicago.
You know, there's wild dogs. I had a pit bull. Probably wasn't so wild, but in the sense that it was owned. But I had a pit bull in the yard the other day.
You know what? We're talking about global issues right now. Okay, and like I said, watch the Underground Railroad. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30. If you are enjoying this, press the share button. Okay, like and comment. And again, you can see all of these wonderful people on my YouTube platform. Okay, I had to sneak that in.
Glad you did.
Anyway, you know, I want to talk about Russia. And you know what? I would like to pose the question to each of you. There's a conflict going on with Russia, the United States, and NATO, and the Ukraine right now. I would like to ask you, do you think that the Russians, Miss Shirley, do you think that the Russians are wrong for invading the Ukraine because the United States dared to say that the Ukraine could join NATO?
Not only Russia, but any war, humanity against humanity, I believe he is wrong and can be proven wrong for what he's done.
I'd like to ask you another quick follow-up. Back during the Reagan administration and Gorbachev, there was agreement that was signed to end the Cold War.
Yeah.
And it said that no nation that annexed or separated from the Soviet Union could join NATO.
Really?
So you say you still believe that the Russians are wrong?
What, to invade a country that don't want you in that country? Why would you?
Well, I'm saying with the agreement that was signed under that treaty.
And I have to see it to understand it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So I'd like to ask you, Johnny, same thing. Do you perceive that the Russians are incorrect for invading the Ukraine when Reagan and Gorbachev signed a treaty saying to end the Cold War, and Ronald Reagan said tie down those walls in Germany, that no country that annexed or separated from the Soviet Union could join NATO?
Right.
Are the Russians wrong?
Well, you can sign a treaty and That the nature of the treaty could be good, bad, right, wrong, perhaps. So you have to look at, okay, is the treaty, so the U.S., I'm taking your word for it because I haven't read it.
Okay.
But so the U.S. and Russia signed an agreement that none of the former USSR states can join NATO. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, so, you could definitely sign a treaty we can sign a treaty with Russia to that effect. Problem is, these other states, even when they were ruled by the USSR/Russia, still had a right to self-determination, I would suspect. So
why didn't you book up the treaty then?
Well, I don't know if they was hardly in a position to bargain. Nevertheless, that was two entities making an agreement that concerned a third entity, so I don't know how valid that is.
So basically you're saying even though nothing was re-ratified, a change or altered the way other countries could join, you see that treaty should really be ignored. Other treaties should be.
No, I'm not saying. I'm questioning that. I'm just not giving a judgment on it because I really can't say. But I do question a treaty between two people where it infringes the rights of a third person.
Okay, and you know what, David, we got 3 minutes, but please take a minute and a half and say, what do you think about Russia and the Ukraine and NATO?
Well, I know personally a person from Ukraine. She's staying at the apartment that I work as a security guard at, and she just came back a couple weeks ago. She said she left her sister over there with a daughter, and the Russians are due to come into the city and take over. Now, the problem over in the Ukraine is the Kasarian mafia has moved in there, and they've been doing a lot of the backstabbing over there, loaning out money and whatnot. But they've also got United States chemical laboratories over there, and that's one of the reasons why Putin and the Russians went down there to stamp those out, is to get rid of those United States-funded chemical laboratories. Because with the COVID-19 all around the world, you can see that that's a big problem, coming into his country, Russia. So that's why they're down there. They haven't destroyed any of the nuclear facilities. They've only taken them offline, and they're not killing the populace. They're trying to wipe out, like I say, this Kasarian mafia that's down there. And the problem that she told me was the problem is that the Kasarian mafia will just move to the next country and move in there and take over. So the war is going to be going on for a while. There's another country involved with Russia supplying forces in favor of the takeover. But, the $60 million donation from the U.S. in weapons is kind of crazy.
Okay, we're running low on time, and you know what? Do you have a finishing statement, Miss Shirley?
Well,
You got a minute and a half left. Okay.
with all that we're enduring and coming in contact with in the United States, from internal domestic violence to outside domestic violence, as human beings, we have to sit down and talk to each other and come together on an agreement of what we should do and what should not be done.
Okay, you got a finishing statement, John?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm just glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, and David, do you have a finishing statement? We're running low on time.
I just thank you, Clifton, for having me on today, and I'd like to thank you, all you people out there, for listening in.
Thank you, brother. You know what? This will be on YouTube, and join us on Facebook and Twitter and all that, okay? Assalamu alaikum.